Part 2 of my little story. It's hard for me to explain all of this. I'm emotionally spent and my will to persevere is almost destroyed, again. I will try to make this short and tell you where I am right now. The situation is very dramatic. I don't know if she is ready or I am ready to test her. I did bring it up, and she seemed receptive though, placating me. Maybe we get there, maybe not. That's ultimately her decision and she have to be in a place where she is ready for that. So, text exchange. Me, thanks for trying to understand what I'm going through. W, I do understand. Please don't think I'm some heartless person. Me, I wouldn't be fighting with all my soul to save a marriage to a heartless person. You have one of the biggest hearts I've ever known. I just bruised it badly and it doesn't trust me right now. I understand that. W, so then stop acting like you hate me. You're making me very uncomfortable. The following day or two I began to get that gut feeling that she had gotten a fix and that she had to have been in contact with him. I wasn't seeing the tiny glimpses of my wife that I had been seeing here and there for moments anymore. She was distant and angry again. For one, I had no way to verify my suspicion as she has changed the password to our cell phone account sometime in the last few days. Despite trying not to confront, I couldn't help it after I walked into the room while she was on the CPU and realized she was changing her password on her email. And that the password she was changing it to, or from, was his name. I held my tongue and said nothing, like I didn't see her do it. Anyway, last night after she did something else that was suspicious, didn't want to hand me her phone when I asked if I could see it. And not to snoop, I want to see if it had a port to stream videos from her phone, Netflix, to our TV. That popped the cork off my ability to hold anything in. I asked her pointedly what her password was. Obviously she lied straight to my face. Over and over and over. I told her I saw her type of his name into the password of her email. And after she lied, about several other things too, but I didn't call to the carpet, she said she lied because she was scared of me. Oh my God, I've never done anything to ever justify any fear of me, never. Nothing, never physical or threatening in any way in 10+ years. Let me just give the nutshell of the rest. Turns out she had been talking to him again, despite me being told they had not been talking at all. By both of them, via texts. Told me I hope you're happy, he's gone, very upset. Apparently, she claims they were saying goodbyes because he was being the hero and didn't want to talk with her anymore. They exchanged texts which I'm told was him saying he was getting out of the way and it was for the best. And he was sorry for ruining her life, family, and he was just trying to be her friend and didn't mean for this to happen. Then I'm told he has blocked her calls and will no longer answer her texts. Obviously, she is torn up, distraught and very angry with me, and a lot more of the standard stuff. It's my fault. You cost me a friend, I miss him. She also told me she has found a new confidant to talk to about everything. Someone, female, that knows her OM and her very well, and it's helping her to cope by talking to this other person. Okay, enough, I'm drained, beat up and just spent right now. There is more, and I will share, but I'm interested in everyone's thoughts so far. I have two completely different paths in front of me. I have to take one of them, but they conflict greatly. One is withdraw. This hurt is unbearable and consuming. I am the one doing all the work and trying desperately to be understanding of her pain and what she must be going through. I read daily about all of it, the entire process, the stages, etc. Why am I doing all of the work and being the person who is charged with holding this together? I accept responsibility for the dynamic I created with my emotional unavailability, and the damage which was created in large part due to the fact that I had an alcohol problem, which I am dealing with. No drinking. For almost 2 years, but I did not make these choices. She did. She has done these things and will not take any responsibility for her part in this marriage or the problems we are through and doesn't have any motivation to work on it. 2. Continue to stick it out and essentially be the one doing all the work and feeling like a doormat. Emotional punching bag while she gets through the withdrawal stages and see where we stand and go from there. Much of what I read says I have to be present and be the person she wants to be with and prove that I'm not going anywhere. Give her reason to choose me. And her family. Work on me, which I have been doing, church, gym, good father. I have no way of knowing how much, how often, and to what degree she continues to get fixes of him which prolong any attempt to take any step towards what my end goal has been. Which is obviously to be the best husband and father I can be and give 110% to trying to salvage my marriage. I think she is telling the truth about her female friend right now. It would make some sense. I have sent emails out to all of our closest friends about the situation, my feelings, and my goals. She can no longer call them and paint this poor me picture and tell them the lies and reality that she has created in her head about what has been going on. She is seeking out a new support structure that doesn't know the whole story or my side of the story and will support her need to be the justified, poor me, victim. Furthermore, the person she is now confiding in is a former girlfriend and 10-plus-year friend of the OM. She doesn't know me. She only knows what she's told. I turned on the lights with all of our friends whom she had carefully built this very false picture with. She wants to continue what she's doing or be given justification for her actions. She's seeking approval for her decisions and will not get it from people who know the whole truth. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. She could at any point reach out to any of our friends that care about her and would be happy to talk. Support her and help her any way they could, but they all know the truth now. Suddenly she goes away from all of these people and develops a new bond with a person she had rarely spoken to for years and years. A person who happens to be friends with the OM. She told me last night that this person told her and agreed that the relationship she was having with other man isn't anything, that it's just a misunderstood friendship that she's mistaking for more. That he's just a really nice guy. I am here for help. I didn't come here for sympathy. I was making excuses. I can't help my marriage and my family if I can't help myself to realize my own faults. I need to be slapped in the face sometimes to help me realize the excuses and rationalizations I'm making to try and protect myself. This is a journey for me as well as her. I'm asking for help. That involves looking at myself as much as anything else. Plan A, full bore, not halfway, not guarded. When it comes down to it, do I need to do more digging and snooping? She has admitted the emotional affair, and I know what is going on. I've told everyone I thought she cared about. There comes a point where the more I dig, the less I love her. It destroys me to be so paranoid and be sneaking around trying to get more ammo. I'm just not this type of person. I've never been the jealous, possessive and controlling type. There comes a point when it's just emotionally damaging for me to continue this. I don't have any interest in recording her conversations and hearing them. This gotcha thing just leads to more lies and more deceit from her. None of this gathering of evidence helps me legally in regard to a potential divorce. No false state, and I'm not going to chase down every person she bonds to and finds to talk to. I mean, I could chase forever. As someone pointed out, every situation has its specific dynamics. The dynamic here and my gut tell me I'm not putting her job at risk. I'm just not. I love my wife. I'm just not going to do that. I would rather be without her than to hurt her like that. Is there a point when you have to decide that it's up to her? I don't feel right about that and don't want to crush her. She's obviously sick and clearly addicted. I don't know, I just feel like some of these things as far as exposure can be a fine line. I'm not going to involve her career. Clearly, from where I stand, I need to focus on getting pressure on the other man's side. If I ask myself honestly, I don't forgive her. It's not my place to forgive her. She has to forgive herself or seek forgiveness from whomever she answers to inside of herself. I'm not seeking payment. I understand who she is and what has happened. I'm not harboring any anger at myself or her. I accept responsibility for the things I've done to contribute the problems that we have had, and I'm doing everything I can to ensure that this never happens again. I forgive myself. If she ever feels that she needs my forgiveness, and she seeks it for her own soul to heal, I will give it to her. I am not going to offer if she's not seeking it. I just question what I'm fighting so hard for. I've been fighting for this marriage, family alone for a long time now. This pain is crippling. Everything is a mess of confusion. I find it harder and harder to be in a good place long enough to keep it up. She has everything justified. It's all my fault. We had a talk about why we haven't been talking the last few days. Mainly because I got frustrated knowing that despite what she says to me and to other people, he is still there. I said, we aren't talking because you don't want to lie to me anymore, and I don't want to ask you questions because I don't want to be lied to. That turned into 90 minutes of her venting about all of the terrible, inconsiderate things I've done to her. And what a horrible person I was to her. She even has me convinced that I was such a terrible person to her that who could blame her for doing this? This is all so far-fetched that I can't even get my head around it sometimes. When we discuss anything regarding the situation, other man, our relationship, the affair, etc., everything is predicated on lies. When she tells me anything about the affair, the other man, etc., it's all lies, half-truths and dishonesty. She looks me straight in the eyes and lies right to my face. It's hard for me to ask questions which will be met with more lies, and I'm sure that she doesn't want to lie to me, so she doesn't voluntarily try to initiate conversations. I've read that the last thing a WS wants to discuss is their marriage. Plus, doesn't this plan A, which I'm trying, calls for no relationship talk. I have so much pent up inside me that I want to talk with my wife about, but this person I'm talking to is not my wife. It's very frustrating and it builds up. All of these things seem to come venting out through combative language or disrespectful judgments. When she brings up the things I've done to contribute to this situation, I'm trying to just listen and let her get some of it out, which I read I should be doing. Sitting quietly and letting her talk, vent. I thought I read somewhere that is part of the healing process for her. I am trying my best to accept responsibility for the environment I created. How can I try to avoid these conversations or walk away from them and still be holding up my end of the responsibility? I'm not stopping as far as my improvement of myself. I am doing everything I can in that regard: church, gym, being a good father, friend, re-establishing relationships with family members, etc. I have zero doubt that I will walk away from this a better man. I just have trouble coping with all of this at times. The waves, roller coasters are brutal. At times I feel crazy and overwhelmed, so I come here to talk, vent, clear my head, get perspective. It's a difficult situation which is compounded by the fact that I live inside my own head, and I can't turn off my brain. I'm trying everything I can to distance myself from the emotional ties I have to the outcome of this process and wanting to solve this. I know that if I could just do my part and let the cards fall where they will and be fine with that, this would be a much easier process. It's a blessing and a curse that my brain doesn't stop. I'm trying to calm down and step back, and I do for brief periods of time. Keeping myself in that frame of mind is the challenge. I am getting better at it, but it's still a constant fight inside of me. I know, breathe. So, update. Well, for the last week or so, I've been a lot of calmer. At least in the pit of my stomach. My overwhelming urgency has subsided enough to deal with much of what is happening. So, for the last week or so, I've continued on my personal journey. I continue to go to the gym, church, etc. And continue, with less frequency, to speak to the people in my support group, including family and friends. I have begun to get some peace in my own head. During this time, I have been Plan A, actively participating in all family functions, spending 100% of my time at home, being calm and helpful with everything, watching my tones, etc. She has been less angry, and slightly less distant, though we haven't had any conversations about the state of affairs. While I still get the feeling, other man is still in the background, I have had no evidence that they are talking, so. Then today, I hit redial on my home phone to find out the last number she dialed, last 24 hours. Was him. I drew a clear line in the sand a few weeks ago that I would not tolerate her disrespecting our marriage by contacting him. For me, the consequence of her crossing that line, which unfortunately I expected, was mass exposure. As I mentioned earlier in the thread, I had exposed the affair to a very select group of our closest friends. They have tried to speak with her and are available to support her regardless of what decisions she chooses to make. She has withdrawn from them, saying I put her in a shameful position with them and she's uncomfortable. And she has surrounded herself with a different group of friends, whom she says know nothing about the affair, etc. Well, this morning I was all set to blast a much larger radius with the exposure letter. Facebook friends, his family, co-workers, etc. She had crossed the line in the sand. I spoke with her via phone and told her I knew she had crossed that line and I would not be disrespected. I can't be expected to live like this. I hadn't followed through yet when we spoke again. She told me she thought about what I said and that I was smothering her and maybe we should separate. She needed space and doesn't know what to do. She says she just wants to be happy and she's tired of faking it. She understands I am not going anywhere and that if she needs space she has my blessing to take it anywhere she wants, but I am not giving her that space. She is taking it somewhere else. She's upset that I refuse to make it easy on her. She doesn't want to go to her parents' house and doesn't have a friend to stay with. She also doesn't want to move my son but doesn't want to be away from him by leaving him with me. So, I suggested that she go and visit my sister for a few days out of state. She and my sister are very good, very close friends, and my sister is very impartial as far as the situation, right now. It seems that is what is about to happen. I have my finger on the trigger of this extended exposure letter and don't know if I should send it to the list of people I mentioned or I should just let the cards fall where they may. I do not want to hurt her. I never wanted to hurt her. That's the last thing I want. I don't want vengeance, retribution, and I don't want her to choose to work on the marriage because she is being influenced or coerced by the opinions of other people. That's the exact reason I choose to only inform a very small group of our closest friends initially. I had hoped that would be enough and it would help snap her out of this fog long enough to see what was really happening. When I mentioned a larger group to expose the affair to, primarily I was talking about his family and friends. More to the point, the Facebook friends they have in common. I'm not sure exactly how many they share, but I noticed that the other man's mother and at least one of his brothers were on my wife's friend list. Since I have never gone there much and both my W and the other man are very active on that site. Plus the other man was a longtime friend and has run in the same circles as myself and my W. I think they may have a rather large group of shared Facebook friends. Here's some fun to add. I sent the exposure letter to a wider range of people including the other man's family. He's obviously livid that they found out. He went as far as to call my W and say he will X me. She called me crying about these threats and her fear for my safety because he is a trained guy. She asked me to stop. I told her in no uncertain terms, I will not stop, period. This is my family. I am not backing down. I did not do this, and she is the only person who has the power to make this stop. She said that she wanted to talk when I got home, from what I could gather from her tone of voice. It was to restate her wish for the marriage to end. She called me an hour later after talking to other man again and said she overreacted. I asked again, did he or did he not threaten my life? She backtracked and said, he was just mad. He calmed down and said he wasn't going to do anything. She had told me during the initial conversation that he was in town. After the second conversation, she said he wasn't. That ended up as a fairly heated exchange as I still have no idea if she is telling me the truth about anything. I told her that this wasn't lying and hiding things from me about her affair. These lies could put me and my family in danger. This person is threatening my life. Further backtracking, he's not threatening you. I get home last night expecting a talk. Nothing, no talks, nothing. I waited and even brought it up. She just said, there's nothing to worry about. I told you, she didn't seem to want to talk about it at all. Pushing the conversation didn't seem to be the right thing to do as she didn't want to talk, and I could tell the person I would be pushing into this conversation would not be my wife. I would be in another no-win, no progress talk with the evil twin. I didn't get to finish sending the wider exposure, just got it out to the other man's mother and brother. And two more of my wife's closer friends that she keeps away from me. I have no idea if either of the last two got my message. I suspect they didn't. I didn't have time to finish sending. My efforts were interrupted by threats which my wife now says didn't happen. Yes, I have work to finish, admittedly. Uneasy about this completely unstable person threatened retaliation which my wife would not corroborate to the authorities, and fighting off thoughts of, is this really worth it? Am I really fighting this hard for a woman who does not love me and has shown zero fight for her family and marriage? She has buried herself so deep down in all this bull's pit. I wonder if my wife is in there anywhere. I have seen flashes of her during this process, which gives my hope, but I just don't know. Got this email from other man just now. Your wife and I are friends. We will always be friends, accept it. She has told me she no longer wants to be married to you. It doesn't matter if she has contact with me or not. Your marriage is over. You need to accept that too. For you to say we are having an affair so you can mask the fact that you were a bad husband for most of your marriage is pretty small of you. Yes. I have feelings for your wife, and yes, she is my best friend. For you to lie and say I am sleeping with your wife, which in turn makes it a true affair. To my family I might add, I have never slept with your wife, so in turn I have never had a physical affair. If you want to twist it and make it an emotional affair, so be it. You are hurting your family more by trying to resolve something you will not be able to fix. Keep mentally abusing your wife so she just sticks around out of fear. And it will just turn out all bad for you. You have a chance to do the right thing and accept your marriage is over. Be the father you need to be and never lose sight that he is yours and always will be. Just because your marriage is over doesn't mean you will lose everything, just your wife. You think if I am gone out of your wife's life your marriage will blossom. It won't. It has failed and there is nothing that you or I can do to change that. I have had limited contact with your wife these past few months. A lot less than you think, but it is all good. Believe what you need to believe to get through the night. I am confident with me out of her life it will make your situation a lot worse than it is. If you want me completely out of her life, you write me back and say it. It won't matter what your wife wants, I will leave her alone, but I am telling you right now it will be temporary until you get divorce papers served to you. Then I will continue our friendship, no matter if there are more feelings than friendship or not. You can use me as the reason your marriage failed all you want, but you and I both know it was your attempt at being a husband that did that. Soon you will see the truth because you can't blame me anymore." Then a stressful couple of days after the last message I posted, I got another email from other man, stating, again, that he would stay away. Until, he also stated that I would find out that it wasn't him that was doing this. As far as the restraining order, there was more than one point that I thought that was exactly what I was going to do. Being at home the last few days and dealing with Xmas for my son, family activities, etc., it's been hectic and I did not follow through yet. The truth of the matter is not only that I have been overwhelmed with the holidays, but I have also been emotionally overwhelmed, and handling much of this stress is easier in segments I had intended on dealing with today. Then some of the picture became more clear and cloudier at the same time. So, Christmas Eve, my W comes to me and tells me she can't deal with this drama and the stress of the situation, and she thinks it's best for her to cancel her Facebook account, which by the way is a huge thing. Aside from the fact that it is and was one of the primary means of communication with other man, she also lives on that thing. It is a huge part of the alternate reality that she has been living in this whole time. I was more than a little surprised that she was following through with stepping away from it. About 30 minutes after she disables her account and shows me she did, she started acting strange. I could see and sense a nervous panic about her. So, she tells me she is going to get gas before we go to church. Takes her 40 minutes to go 2 minutes away. So obviously she went to call the other man. On the way home from church after my head was right, I calmly asked her if that was what she did. She was honest and told me that she did call him. Her end of our conversation was filled with the "I'm sorry, I couldn't help it, I'm trying to let go." After I sat quietly for a while, I felt something inside me let go. A calm resignation. I essentially said, "Okay, go to him. I can't do this anymore." It was probably stupid for me to offer that or suggest it, but I was tired and felt beat. She didn't go. We had other family functions to attend that night. So even if she wanted to take me up on my offer, she couldn't. Christmas Day, we had a nice enough day with our son and all the Christmas activities. That evening, she went to her uncle's house with my son for a while. When she came back home, I felt something not right again. I knew that she had called him. I wasn't going to get angry or frustrated, I just told her I was leaving. She called me a few minutes later asking where and why I was leaving. I told the truth. I knew what was going on and I couldn't do it anymore. I was not going to get angry, I just had to leave. That conversation turned into a 45-minute talk. The gist being, I am not going to play this sick game anymore. I love my family, but I'm not doing this anymore. I also told her that I realized that it wasn't him at all. He was trying to back away. She was the one pursuing. This whole time I had a picture in my head that it was him. It wasn't, it was her. She wouldn't let him back off. Which she admitted, she is the one initiating all of these recent conversations with him. Her end was her showing some remorse for who she had become and recognizing this was sick and hating herself. I didn't come home. I spent the next 3 to 4 hours alone having me time. Yesterday, she texted me and tells me she wants to tell me something. She tells me she contacted other man again and that she told him please don't answer her calls or texts. That she needs to figure out what is going on with her life. Her marriage, and her family. We spoke for a long time. She was very honest with me about quite a few things that she had been lying about prior to this. Seemed like she was my wife. The women I knew. No sense of the evil twin during most of these talks. It was actually nice to be able to talk and be honest and have at least some senses that she was being honest in return. She also mentioned that she and my best friend's wife have talked and they have gotten my wife enrolled in therapy at the church. It's a marriage-related therapy group. She also started taking prescribed antidepressants in the last 3 to 4 days. So, here I am, questioning how much to escalate the other man's side with the restraining order, knowing now that she has been the one calling him and resisting any space from him. Also realizing that she has been telling him what he needs to hear to keep him close. I tend to think that includes painting a picture where I am somehow scaring her or something. So yesterday, she doesn't answer her phone when I called from work. She initially lies to me about where she was. Then admits that she met other man in some parking lot somewhere to say goodbye. Again, tried not to talk to her much later about the situation. I knew I was talking to an addict that just had a fix, so it would be fairly useless to try to reason with her. We did end up talking. As accepted unproductive talk though. The paperwork has been gathered to move forward with the restraining order. I have also prepared a second letter. She claims that the last meeting was closure. Again, while I'm not sure how much truth is in anything she says, I'm fairly certain that she did not. The withdrawal signs were ferocious yesterday. She screamed at me, called me names, insulted me, told me I was smothering her and felt I was watching her every step, reverted to the "we were just friends" script, told me she would not be told who she could be friends with and would hang out with anyone she wanted. This is the second time. When he claimed he was going away last time, he went away for 3 to 4 days. That I have had to go through this living with a monster detox. If not for the support and education I have gained here, I'm certain I would not have been able to handle this second one so well. By well, I just mean that I would not allow her to bait me into fighting with her. She tried everything possible. I guess I don't have to tell anyone that's been through this what it's like. Amazing would be a huge understatement. My wife is quiet, kind, and the least aggressive person I've ever met in my life. This person is, well, I don't know, I don't even have words for it. New Year's Eve, she contacted him again. She simply cannot control herself and is convinced it's because she does not want to. After I asked her how she could possibly have so little respect for her husband, her marriage, and our home by contacting him again just 3 days after swearing that was the end of their contact. Again, and that she would not call or contact him, her response was, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "Stop committing adultery, stop hurting me, stop calling him." Her response, "That's not going to happen." I really thought that the extent I had done the exposure was enough to be effective. It worked a little, no doubt, but things have effectively regressed back to square one. While this is a dangerous situation for many reasons, I am going to be forced to push the envelope. I have been planning through this whole situation with only brief moments of frustration and conflict with her. Mostly I have been solid and supportive. All things considered, I have been working on me nonstop, taking better care to look good, go to the gym, church. She's noticing. She has said, "You look skinny," which at the time she made it sound derogatory, but I didn't take it wrong. A week later she says, "You really are getting thinner, you look good." Last night she says, "You look bigger." I said I thought I looked skinnier. No, I mean more muscular. Anyway, because plan B is inevitable and I will be putting a date to it very soon. Question is, can someone actually do that effectively while living under the same roof? Because I've been legally advised under no circumstance to leave our home, moving out for space is not possible. Because we own the home together and have a small child, I can't kick her out and she will not leave voluntarily. How would that work? My comment. Part 3 coming today as well. Like I told you guys, this story has a slow start but good ending. You will see the reversal soon. So sub and bell and see you in part